Now I explain what is the main principle of exceptions and the messages that travel along the command path. So let's imagine we have a main method here which will make call to some subroutine. So the subroutine 1 is making further calls to subroutine 2, and this sequence can go quite long, so there may be quite many subroutines that are nested. But in some subroutine there happens an error, so some operation is done which generates situation from which the program is not able to recover. So here, for example, a division with 0 is happening and with some parameter values, and that of course generates an exception on the side. And now what is important here that the execution of the subroutine 3 will be interrupted immediately when this exception happens. So the further rows of this subroutine 3 are no longer executed. So the exception is generated, and what happens to it? It will be sent back to that subroutine that made a call to the subroutine 3. And now if here in the subroutine 2 there is a try-catch structure wrapped around the call of the subroutine 3, then that exception will be handled here and the program will recover. But if there is no exception handler here, then that message will be sent back to that part of the code that made call to the subroutine 2. So that is the previous segment, previous part of the command path in the program. And here is done the same evaluation. So either this exception is handled here or it's been sent back forward again to the subroutine, to the main method from which the subroutine 1 was called. So this path goes until someone responsible of making subsequent calls to the next subroutines is able to handle the exception. But if none of these subroutines and even not the main method is able to take care of this exception, then the program will terminate abnormally. I will now summarize the main principles of the exceptions. So the exception is an error or error message that is sent by the program whenever it detects a situation from which it cannot recover. So it means from in situation in which the program does not know how to continue. So if an error, this kind of an error happens in a subroutine or wherever in the program path, the execution of that current subroutine is interrupted immediately, and instead this exception is thrown. So this means generated the message of error, and then that message is sent higher in the program path. And if in that part of the code from which the subroutine that caused the problem does not have an exception handler, then this message of exception will be sent further higher in the hierarchy of the program path. So as there may be many routines that are calling themselves, so that there is a long path of subroutines, this message will travel in a reversed order through these subroutines, and finally, if no subroutine is able to take care of this exception, it will arrive to the main method of the program. And if also there exists no exception handler, then the whole program will terminate because nobody was able to take care of this error.